Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene at Subin Command. Give me a CAN report.
Welcome, everybody. Stickers of the CAN report. Nozzle Tov, everybody. Real quick, if you haven't liked, subscribed, or checked out my stuff, please do. It lets me know that you are watching, you're listening, you're enjoying it. It helps a lot. So I appreciate you guys all tuning in and listening and watching. It's been helpful and lets me know that I can keep going with this. Today, I have a great guest. They're all great guests, but this guy is awesome. He's doing some really good things in the fire service for us to make sure that we are getting our workouts in. It's my man. He is the Carna Bunker Gear guru, Ryan Conley. Ryan Conley, thank you so much for being on the CAN report.
Thank you, Mike, and absolutely subscribe to the podcast. Give some positive reinforcement back to Mike and make sure he knows he's doing a great job out here spreading good information and educational content for guys,
Yeah, man, I appreciate that so much. Man, it's a pleasure to have you on here. We've been talking back and forth a little bit. I think a lot of people know who Ryan is and what he's doing in the world, but if you haven't, Carna Bunker Gear is that blue gear you've been seeing making its way around the U.S. With making our workouts available to firefighters if you're afraid of wearing your gear. Not afraid, that's the wrong word, but if you don't want to wear your gear, cautious. I like that. If you're cautious of wearing your structure gear because of the carcinogens and because of PFAS, we're going to dive into that. And we're gonna get Ryan's take on that. And I'm so happy to have him on here to really hit home what everybody is thinking. And he's hopefully going to answer a lot of our questions and make that information available to all of us. So Ryan, real quick, I'm going to jump into your bio. Ryan is just like us, everybody. He is in the trenches with us. He's a firefighter. He's in the field doing the work. So this isn't a corporate suit just trying to sell a product to make money. This is the dude who's putting on the gear just like us and trying to make things better for the world. So Ryan Conley, owner of Carna Bunker Gear, speaker of firefighter health, safety, and performance, a fireman for 10 years at Cape Coral, Florida. Fire department, driver engineer. He is acting fire officer. His master's of science in exercise science and health promotion, concentration in exercise physiology from FAU. Wow, that's awesome, dude. NSCA tactical strength and conditioning specialist. We'll have to talk about that. Wellness Fitness Initiative, the IFFWFI, chairman for CCFD. What is the CCFD?
That's just our department.
Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Coach and personal trainer for 15 years. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been doing that longer than firefighting.
So is that, we'll kind of jump into that. So is that why you're really passionate about this? Is because you have a background in personal fitness and being a personal trainer?
Yeah, this was actually originally just when I was going to college to begin with. I was between exercise science and just some kind of public safety. I mistakenly did criminology classes at Florida State, which wound up going nowhere. But I got into firefighting, obviously, and was super passionate about that. But yeah, prior to that, I was always doing my side job or my side passion. Stuff that I really cared about was personal training, health, fitness, performance. And it really just spoke to me. It always has. So I've tried to integrate those two things. And I think that the fire service really can use better information and education on health and safety. Because, I mean, you see it, we all see it. There's risks that we take, and there's things that we know that we're doing that are potentially hazardous to our health that we're trying to do to save the community. But then there's other things that we can be doing to prevent or mitigate some of these risks that we don't necessarily have to be taking. So that's kind of where these worlds have merged.
I love it, dude. That's awesome. So you're doing physical fitness, you're a personal trainer, you're bringing in what you got. And now what sparked you to actually just start the fire service? You were a personal trainer, obviously, before the fire service.
Yeah.
Why did you want to become a firefighter?
I was sitting at my ex-girlfriend's neighbor's house, and he was a firefighter for Hollywood, Florida. He was a hazmat captain, and we were just shooting shit and having a beer. And I was kind of looking for a direction in life, like what I wanted to do career-wise. And he was like, "Hey, dude," just told me about the fire service. And basically, my initial experience or thought from it was, this sounds hard. I'm like, I kind of want to do it because it sounds like a challenge. So that was really what got me into it. And the first weekend, you're going through throwing the gear on, going through small tubes and doing all the hard stuff to try and get guys eliminated. And I was like, all right, this is cool. I can do this. So that was basically it. Bought in.
And you just hit the ground running from after that?
Yeah. I got hired 9 months later after the academy and just been doing it.
And nobody else in your family's a firefighter or in the first responder field at all?
No, my neighbor growing up, he was like a second dad to me. His son was a firefighter, so we had a little bit of exposure to it. But it wasn't ever like a idea growing up in my head that I was like, I want to do that. It was more like this is a challenge. It's something that gives back to the community. And I got into it and was like, yeah, it's and obviously the normal stuff. You get to work one day and you're off a few days. So the lifestyle itself and just being able to be challenged every day when I come to work.
That's awesome. And so I see here that you said you're acting fire officer. So you're good. You're training to move up
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, so actually right now I'm on light duty. I had hip surgery. But prior to that I'd been acting almost every shift. So probably for the last half year I've been more of an officer than a driver anymore. But the next time we have a test, I'll definitely throw my hat in the ring and try and promote up. So it's been cool. I've enjoyed it.
That's awesome. So we're gonna dive into it then, man. So uh, why did you like kind of get into this whole cancer prevention? Is it something that for gear and for firefighters, for all that we do, did
Mhm.
something spark that? Was it a personal issue, or did you just see things happening and you wanted to make a difference?
So I'm sure like you've had guys from your department or people that that have been affected from cancer in the fire service.
Mm.
So I saw that. So that was always in the back of my mind. And then the more and more I worked here, the more I saw, we're putting our life on the line all the time. And it's something that I think guys are aware of, but they don't ever sign up for dying a couple years after they
Yeah.
retire. So I think that was something that I didn't really understand coming in, and I don't think a lot of guys do. But essentially, what happened was me and Zach Parker. He's a firefighter at Scottsdale now, but we were friends growing up. He's one of my partners in the business. We were driving home from the gym after a workout, and we were talking about some of the guys on shifts that we work with that we're tight with, and we're like, "Hey, these dudes are in gear all the time, doing gear workouts almost every shift. It's kind of a shame that they're taking unnecessary risks, getting in their gear, doing things that are making them better firefighters. Like they're going, pushing the rock uphill and doing the hard work that they should be doing and really exceptional firefighters. But they were great. They're great firefighters and great dudes. And we're like, hey, why don't we make a product that simulates the same thing as frontline bunker gear, but is never going to go into a fire?
Mm.
It's hot, it's heavy, it essentially is bunker gear. It's just not PPE. So that would essentially give you a sport specific, and that's where some of the personal training background and sport performance background came in, a sport specific modality that you can train the way that you need to prepare to be a firefighter. And then we just kind of I bought a set of bunker gear offline, and we found a seamstress, a lady that can make stuff in North Florida. We sent the gear to her. She deconstructed it, made a template, and then we just rolled from there. Found manufacturers, like did the whole thing. So it's definitely an interesting process to think. If you would ask me 5 or 10 years ago what I'd be doing, it would not be learning about fabrics and learning about thermal heat loss and all of this other stuff. I would have no idea about duck cotton and polyester, none of this stuff. So it was definitely things that were outside of my normal realm, but the performance aspect, the health aspect, the cancer risk reduction aspect, those were things that I knew about. And I was like, hey, I need to learn about materials and bunker gear in order to make this thing work. So
Have you noticed that was it also a push like I've seen guys like, or I've heard it as well of, I'm not going to work out my gear. Like it was a flat out like not
mhm,
happening anymore. Once this whole the PFAS and cancer equation came out,
yep,
guys and girls like, nope, stopping it. I'm not doing it
yeah,
anymore. You can't make me do it. I'm not going to do it because if I get cancer, I'm coming back to haunt you.
yeah.
And did you see that push in your own department? Did you kind of see like, hey, there's a benefit to working out in your gear. We need to do this, but I understand why you don't want to.
Mhm.
Like, what can I do? To make this better for my brothers and sisters so they can stay in shape and get this actual heat
Yeah, 100%.
acclimation.
Yeah. Honestly, we're an interesting department. We actually, with all the infighting that we do amongst ourselves, we're a very positive department, a very forward-moving, progressive department. There was nobody really guys that are not going to train in gear, are not going to train in gear anyways.
Mm.
So the dudes that wanted to train, they weren't affected by it, and then the guys that weren't training anyways or weren't going out and being proactive, didn't really bother them.
Did
That's
you
what I thought, anyways.
Did you see that as a
Um,
crutch? Did you see that as like now become an
it
excuse,
could be,
especially? And I mean, I'm not obviously, I'm
yeah.
not trying to throw anybody on the carpet, but it's
No,
just
no.
that um, once that came out, I feel like it's also
Used to,
been like,
yeah, it could
like,
be used as an excuse for sure.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I understand where people are coming from, but I mean, I've talked to so many people, and they said, yeah, these are risks we take. We wear our gear at the academy to train
Mhm.
in, and we have to wear our gear on calls. You can't stop doing those. Limit
Mhm.
your exercises in your gear, but then you with this product, you don't have to limit your time to
Yeah.
do it. Now,
Mhm.
when you've came up with the idea, um, what was like kind of your model you were trying to go? Like, obviously, you wanted to do weight, you wanted to have functionality in it.
Mhm.
Um, how did you just in general come up with everything about it? Like, it's cool because I love one that you made it blue, so it all stands out,
Yeah.
and that way nobody confuses with their gear with their
Mhm.
other gear. But
Dude, we need
just
to be color coordinated. We're not the brightest people, so
it's got to be firefighter proof, right?
yes, yes.
So it's really cool. I love what you came up with, and it's so easy, the concept, but there's got to be more to it. So like,
Yeah.
did you
The
just all of a sudden wake up and go, this is what I'm going to do with it?
the concept was kind of, we had the idea, we found somebody that could do it because obviously that seamstress and stuff is way out of my world.
Yeah.
So we contracted that out almost, and I was like, hey, here's our parameters, exactly what you said. Like, I need it to be hot, I need it to be heavy, I need it to be as durable as possible. I want guys to be able to go out and throw ladders in it, do search drills in it, flow water, all of the normal stuff that we do, that we're not actually in a flashover box or doing some kind of training that actually requires thermal protection. So I was like, I want it to almost encompass as much of that as possible. And I gave her the criteria and she just ran with it. And then I kind of learned on the back end of it, like, oh, she picked this because of that. So duck cotton in of itself is the main fabric.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask you. So it's
Yeah.
duck cotton.
Yep, that's
Okay.
what they call it. I'm trying to remember why they call it that, but essentially it was the best natural material to use prior to synthetic fibers being created. And that's what they used on all military garb back in the day prior to like Kevlar, which is the patented name. It's really called aramid. But prior to that being made, this is what was used in all military garb. It's almost like a Carhartt, like a work material. It's a very thick and heavy weave. So
Mm-hmm.
the weave is very tight, which means it has really good abrasive resistance properties for, it has the best abrasive resistance properties for a natural fiber. And then because of how tight it is, it also kind of retains some heat, and it also has some natural water repellency. And that's actually the second step of what we're doing right now. So obviously we've been public for a year. We've been in the process of doing everything for like 2 years. So we've gone through multiple phases of making the gear, or different products, and tweaking things here and there. Right now, I'm trying to find a durable water repellent, which I think I found, which is non-PFAS,
Mm-hmm.
that we can put on that duck cotton to even give it a little bit more water repellency, because it is a cotton, and then inside of that is more cotton and polyester, so it can kind of hold water, which is, it's fine. I mean, it gets wet. You just have to separate it and dry it, so it just doesn't have as much water repellency as normal gear that's treated with a bunch of water repellents, PFAS, all this other stuff that allows it to not saturate. And Kevlar in of itself is very, very bad at UV protection and water repellency. So it
Hmm.
has to be treated, or the gear starts to degrade. And that's actually one of the other topics, is the ISPs, or the people that are contracted to repair gear now. The NFPA and all of them are starting to see this new gear that's non-PFAS outer shell is starting to actually wear and tear quicker and sooner
Oh.
because of the lack of PFAS. So even just having the coat sit on the rig, like on like the grab handle, you've got your coat hanging out there or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the bay and it's exposed to sunlight. It's starting to degrade that much quicker than some of the older gear. So we're kind of running into multiple issues here, where the frontline PPE, we want it to be as high performing as possible so that guys have the most protection possible. So you want it to remain as pristine, as out of the box condition as you possibly can. And you're also taking away some of its durability by removing the PFAS on the outer shell. So, okay, how do we extend the life of the frontline gear? You're not going to be wearing it as much. So that's also another way that this kind of comes into, hey, limit the wear and tear of your frontline gear. You're also reducing the amount of times you have to wash it, because it's not getting as dirty, it's not getting as contaminated. So you're really only wearing it at that point for a call, or for some kind of live burn drill. So I know
Gotcha.
we went off a little bit with that,
No,
but
no, it's perfect, man. I
we're,
appreciate that.
yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now in 2025 with modern gear and with the training gear, and kind of filling the gaps between the two. So
Now, wait, oh, I hear a cat.
yeah, he was in here hiding in the window. I didn't even know he was in here.
Now, so with this new gear, with this training gear, have you gotten any pushback? Like, have you people are still kind of skeptic of using it, saying it's still not the real thing, and it's not going to work as well, or I'm not going to get the real training as
Not
opposed to
so
using my real
much.
gear?
I don't think so. Everybody I've talked to, actually, so we actually have some feedback now, or data. I've done a couple tests. So we've obviously done testing on the PFAS aspect of it to show that there's no fluorine on the gear that's added. There's no flame retardants that's on the gear. That's also on all of our normal frontline gear, which is a probable human carcinogen now. I expect it in a few years to be a known carcinogen as more and more studies are done. And then we also have thermal heat loss testing that I just got back like right before at FDIC. So it shows that the gear is intentionally hotter than normal gear. So you're having less heat loss from the gear when you're wearing it. So you actually will improve thermal adaptations a little bit sooner. And then that's all the feedback that we've gotten from guys and individuals that have bought the gear. That's one of the major things where they're like, hey, when we train in this gear, and I've been in it for a while, when I throw my frontline stuff on, it feels, air quotes, one of my friends said that it felt like he was wearing a bathing suit.
Oh wow.
So there's a pretty good transfer of sport skill, is what you would call it,
Hmm.
from wearing this gear to then going in your frontline gear. And dovetailing off that, some of the newer gear that is PFAS free, when they're using alternative chemicals that are never going to be as effective as PFAS. So let's start there. PFAS was the only chemical that's ever been made that can repel oil. If you want that ability, it's the only thing that can do it. It also is very efficient because of the way that the molecules are aligned at where they're close enough that they don't allow water and oil to penetrate.
Hmm.
They're far enough apart to where they allow vapor to release. So that's why you have some really good thermal heat loss numbers using PFAS as a water repellent, and the only oil repellent compared to some of these other things.
Hmm.
So the other chemical alternatives are, I think, a hydrocarbon, a waxy hydrocarbon, and then the second one is silicone. Um, the first one I could be mispronouncing, but it's some kind of something along those lines. I know the second one is a silicone base. They are going to retain heat more
I was
than.
just going to ask that. I imagine so the silicone. I imagine it's not like it's not going to breathe as much, right?
No, yeah, because it's essentially like a form of synthetic plastic. So you're having that, and then along with that, which is a benefit in my mind for the newer style bunker gear that's particulate blocking. This doesn't have anything to do with the additive chemicals into it, but the particulate blocking gear. Your jacket usually has that cuff in it, right, where
Hmm.
you slide your hand through the wrist. The newer jackets have like a strap or some kind of there's a closure, so you're not just, the jacket's not open where it's allowing vapors to come up underneath the coat to get in between you and your coat.
Hmm.
And then the same thing with the pant legs, the boot legs. So where you have a little bit of almost, think of it like a spandex almost like around your boot.
Hmm.
So you're not having that open pant cuff to where vapors can travel up inside of the bunker gear.
Gotcha.
So they've seen Dr. Ormond of NC State's done some studies on that, where I think they compared like, God, 10 or 13 different kinds of gear. And it was all kinds of different gear. It was frontline firefighter gear, Air Force gear, all kinds of different suits. And this newer particulate blocking bunker gear is blocking about twice as many vapors as anything else, and
Wow.
twice as many as the front or normal standard frontline gear. But with that being said, it's going to be hotter because, again, you're closing off areas, so it's going to be less breathable. So you kind of have a compounding effect there. I haven't tested our gear compared to that gear because I don't know if anybody has even put out thermal heat loss studies for the newer particulate blocking gear
Hmm.
with like silicone. So I don't know what those numbers look like yet, but I know our gear's hot. So at worst case scenario, maybe it just compares to, what are you doing? I'm gonna let this guy out. Come here. So worst case scenario, it compares to maybe the newest gear that not many people even have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, how do you conduct your testing for your Carna gear? I imagine you got to have some kind of lab or something you're attaching.
I
You,
don't.
no.
Yeah,
So like, I'm
I
curious.
just
Like,
contract out. Yeah,
okay,
I
so
find, yeah, Google search, figure out what private labs are available and who does what kind of testing,
mhm.
and then you just send them whatever you need done and pay the product, pay the price for the service. But yeah, I mean, some of it comes with some footwork. The thermal heat loss test was done by Iowa State. They're awesome. They do a lot of firefighter work. The flame retardant testing was done by Duke University. She actually got that for free because they kind of incorporated us into a study
Hmm.
that they were doing. So I just pulled the data from that. And then the total fluorine testing I do with a private company in Minnesota. And then they just charge per sample of swatch that we send up to them. So it's kind of been a little bit here, a little bit there. And then I've been in contact with like UL Underwriters Laboratory.
That was
Um,
kind of what I was hinting at is
mhm,
how if you're reaching out to people like that who they do
yeah.
extensive testing.
So much stuff. Yeah. Yes. And they're doing things that are some of the like NFPA 1500 and some of these other I think it's 1500. There's a couple different that fall under different PPE and different things like what is it? Like TRT, tactical rescue type stuff. So some of it PPE kind of falls into a couple different NFPA things. But yeah, I've talked to them about a couple different tests and they're very expensive. And we don't need to have NFPA certifications, and we're never going to be an NFPA standard gear because of things like it needs to have flame retardants. The duck cotton would never withstand the flame test where it has to like self extinguish, I think within 3 seconds. So it's one of these things where I'm doing it just to get the data for it
Mhm.
so that we can, provide information to guys and departments that are curious, and because I'm curious too. So it kind of gives us a better understanding of what the gear is, where it's at, where if
Like
we need to shift.
what I'm curious about is for testing is like, we test athletes, we put them on the
Mhm.
treadmill, you got the heart monitors going, you've got all these nodes attached to them. Does anybody do any of that testing with your gear to see how it's the physical attributes of it? Is it,
So far, it's just been fireground stuff, like giving
gotcha.
guys gear and having them go out and demo it.
Hmm.
So we have had feedback with different departments and entities and individuals, and that's where we've made changes, honestly. So we've made different changes and stuff based on feedback, and it's all been, productive. It's been good communication, and that's why, yeah, like we spoke earlier. I'm always asking people for feedback on the gear to see if we can make improvements on it. But yeah, mainly as far as like wear and tear, durability, all that kind of stuff has been hands-on guys just going out and wearing it and beating the hell out of it. Um, and there was a test that I wanted from UL that was tear strength or something along those lines. But again, I don't even know how like actual much application we can get from it. It would be, I would like to get it done one day, but how much we're going to glean from it, I'm not sure.
Sure.
So,
What is the feedback that you've been receiving from people using it out in the field? And I see because you also have I see that there's competitions that people are using it in that, which is really awesome to see. So what is some of the valid feedbacks or criticism that you've gotten from people using the Carna gear?
yeah, so my buddy Louis is doing he competes in the combat challenge. They're not actually allowed to wear it during the combat challenge for a like competitive time. You can do it as a what do you call it? Like an expo, something that doesn't actually count towards the actual competition. So that's unfortunate, but their basic default is it has to be NFPA certified for you to compete in it, even though our gear is hotter and heavier than the stuff they're wearing, so it's not an advantage at all.
Hmm.
But it's kind of their basic coverage of this is what's allowed, this is what's not allowed. It has to fall within the NFPA criteria. But yeah, most of the feedback has been that it's hotter than normal. They love it for the most part. Everybody I've gotten as long as they get gear that fits them appropriately, everybody loves it and enjoys training in it. And I've just gotten nothing but positive feedback
That's
from a
great.
ton of individual guys. We're still figuring out the mass manufacturing and sizing and making sure that guys are sizing crews and departments or whatever they're buying appropriately. So if we need to start going out to places to ensure that, then that's fine. But it's never meant to be a specific custom made gear. It's always meant to be. We've got 7 different sizes, and the majority of people are going to be within the bell curve of 3 sizes. Like 80% of men are going to be a medium, large, or an XL.
Okay,
So
so those are that's how it's sized, is medium,
yeah,
large.
it's just
Okay.
general sizes. And then we can make adjustments. So we'll probably start offering longer inseams and stuff like that to where we can make some alterations on it. Because we can do that now. We just have to have the heads up on it.
Hmm.
So we're working through some of the like the corporate side of things where we're trying to figure out how to better provide service for the product and get everybody what they want without it becoming a super, one-off thing where I want black gear and 36-inch jacket length and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff where I'm like, you don't need the hangover of the jacket. Like it doesn't need to match your gear 1 to 1 because the NFPA has criteria for, you have to be able to lift your arms up and your coat still covers your torso in a certain amount of length. So there's things like that that are kind of irrelevant because it's PPE. So if it fits your chest, it fits your groin, you can move around in it. It's hot, it's heavy, you can get the job done. It's training gear. So kind of get in where you fit in, and yeah, that's been the majority of the feedback.
And like we were talking earlier, I got a chance to actually use it. My department had a couple demos, and I think the feedback was great. Nobody really had any complaints. Like you said, it's not your tailored gear, so it's going to fit
Yeah.
different. And when I put it on, I definitely felt the weight difference, which was a good thing. So but I could move in it, and I
Mhm.
was sweating, and it felt like good workout gear. And
Yeah.
it's a nice change, like where for people that are afraid to or cautious to wear their regular structure gear. This
Mhm.
is a great alternative, and I did enjoy working out. I was getting my sweat on, and I was feeling good moving in it, and it wasn't too bulky because I'm short in stature, so it wasn't. I didn't feel like I was swimming in it. I think
Yeah.
I think I might have been wearing a medium, and
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was swimming in it. It felt like I could move. I really had no like because we were doing it as a demo, and all our officers wanted to have that feedback, and majority of the people enjoyed it, and we liked it very much. Unfortunately, I only had it for a couple of shifts, but
Mhm.
it was cool to use and actually see that. And I think more departments are, I've seen it more, and I love seeing it on what I've seen on social media is you got competitions going on. I think there was just a training that was going on in, I think it was Florida. I think I saw on Instagram there was some training they were doing, some firefighter removal, and there was
Oh yeah.
there was two guys in
Oh yeah,
gear.
there's a RIT competition. Yeah, yeah, they were. That was actually in Reno, so we were out there. And yeah, that was Miami-Dade. One of my friends has been demoing the gear for a while with them, and yeah, they were doing a RIT competition run through like a warm up. But the RIT competition was totally cool with them wearing the gear.
Mm-hmm.
So if they wanted to compete in that, that's a viable thing. And then, but yeah, they were doing a walkthrough with it, and he's been training with it with he's their RIT competition team. So he's used it for pretty extensively, and
That's awesome.
I've gotten good feedback from them on that. So
Now, I don't know if you can say it or not, but what is the price for Carna
yeah.
Bunker Gear? How does it get priced, and how do you go about with ordering and getting that stuff situated?
So the individual sets below 50 units, like if we're selling to an individual, right now the price is $1,500 a set, compared to normal gear, which can be anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000. So we're usually at least at 50% of the market price of like normal gear.
Mm-hmm.
It is made in the U.S., so that's where a lot of the pricing comes from. Is that we're made out of L.A., so we're paying American labor. But with that being said, it also helps our communication process with them because they're not that right down the road for me, but we're able to speak English and communicate with them effectively. Where if you start going overseas, there's a lot of translation errors.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're proud of that it's made in America. So the price point under 50 units is 1,500, and then once we get to 50 units, it drops down to 1,000. So when departments can hit that order, or we can get departments together on a cumulative order, we can still honor that price. Like if they want to they have mutual aid with another department or a good relationship, it doesn't really matter to us. We just need to hit the price point break because that's where the manufacturer gives it to us, and it continues to go down from there. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say we go all the way down to like 900 or $800 a set at like 200 or 300 units, something like that. So it can get cheaper the more units that are made, and hopefully as we grow, maybe we can start knocking ticks down off the price point on that.
Sure.
But we'll see how it goes. But
I like the idea that you just mentioned, like mutual aid partners. You know,
Mhm.
it'd be a smart idea for neighboring departments to help each other out and help
Yeah.
reduce costs, so you can actually get your firefighters fit and wear that gear and not have to worry about the issues that we have with our structure gear.
Yeah.
Working together to solve a problem is huge. So
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense. How do you care for the product, for the gear? You know, is it just simple? You know, throw it in the washer, or do you know? Because obviously you're not going to throw it in the extractor, because the extractor had our
Yeah,
regular
gear
gear in
in.
there, right? So,
Yeah.
is that just a regular washing machine?
Yeah, that's what I do. I just separate. So it's got an inner and outer layer. Just separate the layers. The inner layer is actually the heavier part on our gear for the most part. And then you just wash them like normal, or you could just wash one or the other. Like if you get super sweaty and you just want to wash the inner liner, you can just do that.
Hmm.
But if you're, being dragged, doing a down firefighter drill and being dragged through the mud and the dirt and all that stuff, like you can just wash the exterior if you didn't really sweat that much in it. So it really just depends. But yeah, you can wash both of them. Just throw in a normal wash machine. I wash it on cold because you're not really getting. So as far as a washing standpoint goes, when you want to remove contamination, you always want to wash it as hot as physically possible and then put as much soap or detergent or whatever you're using as physically possible.
Yeah.
That's what's going to remove carcinogens, bacteria, all this kind of stuff. Is you're just saturating it with fluid and soap and trying to have that surfactant come into play. With this, you're not really coming into that. You want to extend the life of the gear. So when you use stuff that's super hot, super soapy, that actually starts to degrade the gear over time, also, and as well as the abrasion from the tumbler or anything like that, which also again knocks dirt, knocks debris, knocks stuff off of it. So you have two opposing forces here. You want something to get super clean, but it's going to degrade the gear over time, or you want something to be maintained as long as possible. So with the gear, the training gear, the Carna gear, you just want to maintain it as long as possible. So cold wash, a light detergent, that'll keep the color as long as possible. It'll keep the fabric in better shape as long as possible. So that's what I do with it, and that's what we recommend guys do. But you can
Smart.
do any of the above, and then you do have to dry it. Or I recommend drying it can hang dry in like 24 hours. But if I'm going out and doing some kind of training, we have gear dryers at the station that are like the closet hanging racks.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw it in there sometimes just to get the process moving. That works very well. Or putting it in front of fans. Some guys do like shop fans where they blow a good amount of volume of air through it, and that also dries it really quick. So
Oh
we've
well.
had good feedback on that end. Yeah.
All right, I like that very much. It's good, good tips to be able to keep that clean and not stinking like a locker room.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And some of the other, one of the low hanging fruit that I kind of go into with some of the talks is because this was kind of side topic, not really, but originally back in the day when the PFAS thing was coming to the fruition and we were trying to figure out what we were doing as like a fire service, one of the ideas that was floated out there was to make disposable gear. Well,
Oh,
the two problems with that is if you're going to make disposable gear, it's going to be much cheaper. And then if it's going to be much cheaper, it's not going to be able to perform in these kind of modern day synthetic fires that we're fighting.
yeah,
They get way hotter than anything that used to be going on. So you would be limiting the ability of guys to go in interior attack.
yeah.
So nobody wanted that. That kind of got scrapped pretty quickly. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, what are we wearing under our gear? So we're wearing our BDUs, we're wearing our t-shirts. If you can just throw your t-shirt out, if it's feasible, it's not feasible for everybody, but in my department, we have enough of a budget to where we get our clothing annual purchase to buy new shirts and stuff. I've got a million t-shirts. We're not getting a fire every single day, like a trailer fire or something like that, to where I would be throwing out a shirt every single shift. Some departments are. So anyways, if you can just not wash your clothes, just throw them out and get new ones. Like that's such a low hanging fruit. It's like 40, $50 for a pair of pants and $20 for a shirt that you're not even paying for. The department's providing it for the most part. Not
Yeah,
everybody, but that's one of those things where I'm like, what's the point of washing it? You're mixing it around. You're not really getting it super clean. So just throw it out, get new clothing, um, and go from there. So that is one possibility. And the same thing goes with the washing. If you do have to keep your clothes, wash the clothes as hot as possible with as much soap as possible, and that's the best you can do.
I like
So
it.
yeah,
That's some good keynotes right there, man. I like that very much.
yeah, yeah.
We'll go take a touch on some other things as well. So you and I were talking, and I have some stuff that you wanted to go over, and I like this one. Where working out and nutrition plays a role in
Yes.
both cancer risk and reduction. Like, talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I know you had Nate on the other day, and he touched on that as well. So
Yeah.
I love when guys speak on that. Obviously, I love to lift. No, but exercise is so great for us in so many ways, and as we get more and more research and more information, we just see how really beneficial it is, and how it's just all encompassing to a healthy life. It's really the panacea and the fountain of youth, in my opinion, man. Like exercise is all that in a bag of chips. So,
Yeah.
as far as cancer risk reduction goes, you have obesity in and of itself is an independent risk factor. So not exercising, not even talking about not exercising, but being obese is an independent risk factor. That means if nothing else, everything else is the same, just being fat, you are at a higher risk level for cancer. And then we also see that exercise and nutrition can help prevent about 30 to 40% of cancers. Now, these numbers are for general populations, so it's not firefighters, but it's still human data. So, of course, everything is going to be a little bit more a higher hazard ratio for firefighters because of our exposures. And then that is one of the things where we see about 14% increase in cancer related deaths in firefighters. So keep that in the back of your mind as we're talking about some of this stuff. But exercise helps reduce body fat, it helps improve muscle mass and lean tissue. It helps improve insulin resistance and glucose tolerance. So you're able to eat nutritious or eat food and not have it spike insulin through the roof. And insulin is very pro obesidemic, and it's also pro cancerous. So you've got all of these factors kind of combining together. And then aside from that, exercise has been shown to increase natural killer cell production. Natural killer cells are the body's primary immune system that help fight precancerous cells. So you have I think like and for all the nerds out there, an acute hormone spike is not always the end all be all to everything. So just an acute spike in growth hormone doesn't do shit for your muscle mass. Like, so don't think that this is it's always the case, but at least with exercise, you get a natural killer cell increase of like 200% after a hard intense workout, like a high intensity workout. So you see a really big boost in immune cell activation there. And then at the opposite side of the coin, with sleep deprivation, with 4 hours of sleep, we see a 72% reduction in natural killer cells in healthy college aged males. So the ability to use exercise to kind of combat that, and you're also seeing increased insulin resistance with sleep deprivation and lack of sleep. Also, you're able to kind of use exercise as a prehab tool to prevent some of this insulin resistance, prevent some of the cancer cells coming. Oh, and another thing is when you exercise, you have an increase in velocity of of blood flow. That increased velocity of blood flow is causing shear stress in the arteries, and they're actually killing more precancerous cells. And I think it was like a long workout, and I think it was like 4 hours or something that they did a study on. So it was a very long workout. But I think 90% of the precancerous cells that were in the bloodstream were killed from that 4 hour exercise.
Wow.
And then 24 to 48 hours later, all of the remaining cells were all killed as well. So you really have, like I said, it's a panacea, man, and you can go down so many different rabbit holes. It activates different genes that are healthy and helpful for mitochondrial health, and that's a major component also in aerobic fitness, which goes into firefighter performance, which goes into longevity. VO2 max is something that like Peter Attia and a lot of guys talk about now, where if you have a high aerobic fitness level, that'll just extend your life length and your functionality, and it's going to reduce your all-cause mortality rates by like 400%, where not smoking versus smoking reduces it by about 60%.
Wow.
So yeah, exercise is a big deal, and I swear to God, if I could get everybody to just do a little bit of high intensity cardio, a little bit of steady state cardio, and lift some weights, I would be a happy man. So I know that was a lot.
No, that's great. So I like that you're also mentioning all that, like the science and the data and the fact of even just like cell rejuvenation and killing the bad stuff and growing the good stuff. And I mean,
Yes, that's exactly what it is too.
Right?
It is what it is. It's so funny.
It's just in the
Like you
simplest
have
terms.
you have this super detailed, nuanced thing that people can spend an entire life studying. But at the end of the day, you just have meatheads in the world that are going to do cardio and working out and, eating 4 meals a day with high protein, and getting all the benefits. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
I mean, people like take so many, man, they take so many supplements, or they try all these,
Mhm.
they try to take the quick way out to lose weight
Yes.
and to gain muscle. And
Yeah.
yeah, like we always say, hard work pays off, and you have to work hard to get results. But they're good results, and like you said, they make you live a lot longer and make you feel a lot healthier.
Absolutely.
And I like the fact that you mentioned like working out though with weights too. It's not just
Yeah.
cycling. It's not just running, but you're gonna have to lift some weights too to get those results and kill those bad cells and grow those good cells. How do you break up your workouts? What do you do for like say your typical workout? Do you have a set schedule when you're at work and when you're off of work? What do you do?
Yeah. So that's a loaded question. Just kidding. So actually, I competed in powerlifting for 10 years. So
Okay.
I'm a huge strength athlete. I just love it. But aside from that, I've been retired for a few years. I might give it another shot here soon. But um, I would recommend how I would do things if I'm not competing. I'm just going in and exercising, which is basically the status I've been in the last couple of years. On my off days, I'll do resistance training just because I typically like to go to the gym, and we do have a pretty good gym set up in the fire stations. But I enjoy going, and I enjoy getting out of my environment, going and socializing with other people, getting in the atmosphere, right? So I'll go do upper lower body split, usually hit each of those twice a week, so 4 times a week. And then on my off days, I'll do cardio at work, like in a low intensity state. So treadmill, stairmaster, or something like that for 20 to 40 minutes, 60 minutes, depending. Sometimes I'll read something while I'm doing it, like studying stuff. But I prefer to split up low intensity stuff at work on shift and do harder things off shift. So potentially on a leg day, I could end with like an assault bike, like 5 or 10 rounds of 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Um, 5 rounds would be plenty for me right now, but if I'm in good shape, 10 rounds. Um, so the point behind that is some of the studies we've seen. First off, when you're in good shape, you can do more and you can recover from more. Like simple as that. So when you see guys that were competing in the combat challenge, they did a couple studies at the University of Kentucky where they took a sample size of I think 10 or 15 firefighters. They had some of these guys that were combat challenge competitors. They're obviously in good shape. They did a bodybuilding workout, which was 7 exercises, I want to say, with 30-second break between them, and just a typical, I think, 8 to 15 rep range, like bent row, overhead press, things of that nature, lat pull down. And then they ended with 3 or 4 minutes on an incline doing some low intensity aerobic stuff. The other group was a high intensity CrossFit workout. They did as many rounds as possible in the same time allotted for the other workout. So it was maybe a 15 or 20 minute workout for each of them.
Hmm.
Then they did essentially a combat challenge, which was to mimic if you got a call. You had to go perform on a structure fire. They did that an hour after the simulator workouts, and they did that 10 minutes after the workouts. Now, the group that did the high intensity workout, the CrossFit workout, 10 minutes later, their times, I want to say, were 50% slower on average. The guys that were, and this is looking at the averages of the group, but the guys that were combat challenge competitors, they were slower than their normal times, but they weren't 50% slower. They were like, I don't know, 10, 20% slower. So they were slower, but they were able to recover quicker and be able to go do something that was super challenging,
Yeah.
like a combat challenge, and still be able to perform within a reasonable expectation. And I think if you can do that within 10 minutes, that's pretty solid. But to loop this all back together, for general recommendations, I prefer to have guys be careful with high intensity stuff on workout days or at the station. So if you're getting in a gear and doing a air consumption drill and just killing yourself, just be aware of where your red line is. And I think that's really the best way to put it is
Hmm.
like, don't tack all the way out. If you're, driving a race car, don't go 100,000 miles an hour and just blow your engine apart. Save some in the tank. All right. Just, you're allowed to push yourself and you're allowed to train hard. I don't want to like tell guys to not train hard. That's not my message. And the better in shape you are, the more you can kind of do this stuff. So, but if you're just giving general advice to people, on average, doing lower to moderate intensity type training on shift days, and that allows you to be able to perform and function if you do get a call
Yeah.
that's a hard worker or something like that. And then on your off days is when you can really crush it. Or even when you're coming off shift that morning, you can stay at the station and do some kind of air consumption drill or whatever, just smash your face in. That's fine. So now you've got 2 days to recover or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of my model if I were to set something up for guys.
Oh, I like that. No, you got to break it up. I like that. And I mean, you definitely have guys who killed it. I was just talking to a coworker, and he's like, "Yeah, we kind of overdid it on legs, and they were feeling it for the rest of their shift." And like you said, man, if you got a worker going on, and you got to get up on that aerial or climb a ladder, like, ooh, that's gonna hurt. You're gonna be might be a little bit slower than usual.
Dude, you've been there. We've all been there. You're like when you're laying on the ground after a workout, and you're like, you get a call, and you're like, God, I hope that's not a structured fire. Like we've all done it,
right?
So that's kind of where I'm at with guys. Is I'm like, you've been here. Don't do that. Just stop right before that moment.
Yeah, you burn your legs out, man. That's like you pray that's just a lift assist for that moment, that one day, like just for that one moment, just let it be a lift assist, so I can just
please let it be a cancel.
Yeah,
dispatch to the wrong station.
So I like the fact I was reading here. You brought up a good topic as well. Is the dermal absorption versus inhalation? Let's elaborate on that one.
Yeah, this is super cool topic. I think it's cool. So we've been wearing SCBAs for 60 years now, 70 years, something like that. It's been a while. So it's been a few generations. Why do we still have high rates of cancer in the fire service? So clearly we're missing something. We're not capturing all the data if we still have high rates of cancer, which we do. So where's that coming from? Where are these exposures coming from? And that's kind of what the last 10, 20 years of research has been looking at. Maybe the last 10 is what are we missing? And there's been a lot more funding that's been given to departments and schools and things for this stuff to figure that out. Because we raised our hand and we're like, hey, we're dying here. Like we have occupational cancer and we don't know why.
Yeah.
So what we've seen here lately is the dermal absorption is a major contributor to what's going on. And there are blatant people that this was another topic I kind of mentioned earlier, had touched on, was there's kind of just blatant misinformation, or people are reading things or getting secondhand information and they don't know what they're hearing or they don't know what they're reading. And it's not a fault to anybody. Like I'm a total nerd and I've enjoyed reading research for a long time. So I understand that it can be complex and it's kind of its own little world, and firefighters, that's not a normal thing for people to do. So I'm an N of one. I get that. But it's not helpful to have misinformation and not understanding the stuff and talking about it. So one of the examples is engineers are on the pump panel. And I've heard this on other podcasts where they were the highest rates of exposures on the fire ground. That's wrong. It's blatantly wrong. They have higher exposure rates for inhalation of things like benzenes, diesel exhaust off gas. And yes, you can have inhalation from the fire and stuff like that, but are they being exposed to the guy more than the guy inside? Absolutely not. That is incorrect. So why is the reason on that? The guys inside are on air. Correct. They are having dermal absorption because they're in unburned or incomplete combustion particles. They are coming into contact with smoke, which is basically the direct antagonist or the direct contributor to dermal absorption, along with some volatile organic compounds. So you have vapors essentially that are penetrating through you that can be inside your body before you even step out of the house. And then when we come to things like decon and gross decon and acute decon, like when you get back to the station, wash your gear, all that kind of stuff, when you have decon methods, that's getting off the contamination that's left on top of the skin. So you're not capturing the stuff that's already inside your bloodstream. The good news is some of that stuff is so lightweight. It's such a lightweight molecule that some of it can just off gas back out. Not all of it, but you're not going to eliminate that reduction without going into the fire. So with that being said, again, long wrap around to this. Engineers can benefit from being on the pump panel and having some kind of respiratory protection, whether that be a bandana, a half mask, being on full air. They've seen that in studies. When guys are going inside fires and they're wearing their protection properly, their SCBA, all of their gear, all of their PPE, they're still coming out and they have different carcinogens in their bloodstream. We're able to remove the topical ones that are heavier weight, that are kind of sitting on the skin, that are waiting to be absorbed. So you want to get in the shower, like within, obviously the golden rule is shower within the hour, but it's up to like 6 hours, to where I think after 6 hours with a polyaromatic aroma polyaromatic hydrocarbon, a PH, which is an incomplete combustion product. It's basically what the burnt on a steak is, the char.
Hmm.
All of that is PHs. It's from any organic fire. It's from basically any single combustion. Um, that is sitting on the skin, and it's being absorbed at like 30 to 50% over 6 hours. So if that's left on the skin, you're getting that long-term absorption. Whereas when you're in the fire, you're just getting absorption no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that newer bunker gear comes in, where it has closures. It's reducing some of those vapors from coming up. So, long story short, we're seeing that some of the exposures that we've been missing are really these dermal absorption things. So, trying to figure out ways to make bunker gear more efficient, having better decon methods. Another idea or study that was done was when guys walked out of the fire, the structure fire, they had them open up their coat and open up their pants while remaining on air prior to going to gross decon. So that allowed those vapors that were caught between themselves and the coats and the pants to off gas immediately.
Hmm.
Close it back up, go to gross decon, get cleaned off, take your gear off. And then for another 30 minutes or so, that gear is off gassing very, very heavily. So try not to breathe that. Don't put it on the inside of the cab. Separate it from the interior of the cab, things of that nature, where those are some of the low hanging fruit. Washing your balls or your genitalias. As for females, they have higher rates of absorption, obviously because of the open genitalia. So being able to do decon of your private parts as soon as possible is actually a really big deal, because guys have higher rates of testicular cancer, females have higher rates of cervical cancer and things of that nature in the fire service. So again, I know it's a lot a broad encompassing thing, but the dermal absorption really it seems to be the missing fruit, or the missing component to all this stuff. And we have some low hanging fruit that we can use. And obviously, the gear kind of comes into this as a long term thing. Obviously, it's not going to prevent you from getting absorption in the fire, but all of those chemicals that are absorbed onto the gear and that are not fully washed off when you decontaminate the gear or wash the gear in an extractor or any other method, none of these methods are perfect.
Hmm.
Do we need to be using them? Absolutely. We don't have any other choice. You have to wash your gear. But the NFPA standard for a clean set of gear is getting off for removal is 60% of the contamination. Heavy metals are not met from gear extractors. They're not meeting a 60% mark. Some of the liquid CO2 cleaning can remove more hydrophobic chemicals more efficiently. So some of these heavier things that are like some of the SVOCs that remain on your skin, some of them are hydrophobic. Microplastics, so the liquid CO2 seems to be beneficial in removing that. It's not really much better at removing PFAS. It's not much better at removing heavy metals. It barely passes the NFPA standard with that. And gear extractors are terrible at removing heavy metal. They don't remove PFAS. Taking a step back with some of this stuff, some of these studies, you have a lot of variation. So depending on what chemical you're studying, what the water temperature is, what you're using to clean the gear with, are you pre-soaking it? How long is it being washed for? Is it a chemical that's applied to the gear, or is it a gear that's coming actually from a structure fire? You have all these different variables that come into some of these studies, to where you can control things very tightly and get very specific answers based on the question that you input, or you can do real life studies and real world studies that are giving you also applicable information, but you can't really control the input. So
Yeah.
you're not sure exactly what you're getting aside from the result. Um, and one more study that I think encompasses some of the dermal absorption stuff was Appalachian State. I listened to them at FRI in Dallas last year, I believe. She had composed a study to where they were assessing dermal absorption in firefighters during a structure fire that was a controlled burn of a house fire that they had. And she looked at flame retardants, two different kind of flame retardants on the skin, uh, PFAS and PAHs, I want to say. All of them were higher than comparable studies that were done in Italy, France, and general population of United States citizens. And the firefighters were considerably higher in all three of those that were tested, and they were even higher prior to going into the building. So you're seeing that we're having some of this stuff on our skin prior to even entering the structure fire.
Gotcha.
And then the structure fire adds to that component. Um, and one more thing with the PFAS. The PFAS is being obviously the major talking point is PFAS in the gear.
Yeah.
Okay. PFAS was put in the gear from the manufacturers. We aren't sure how toxic it is. We aren't sure what the dermal absorption is of PFAS. They're doing studies on it now. One of the newest studies that I've seen that came out in September of 24 that was published was looking at 3 different sets of gear. They had a set from 2017 and earlier 2000, or not earlier 2000, but like 2015, 2013. One of the oldest set of gear had been used for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. It was a beat up and used as a in the fire service. It was used in the front line. One of the other sets was brand new out of the package, and it was prior to them getting away from applying PFAS to the gear. The gear that had the most PFAS on it was the oldest gear.
Hmm.
So what that's showing us is the exposures that are coming from the house fires, which are having PFAS being ignited in the house fire, the structure fire. You've got flame retardants, PHs, heavy metals, plastics, all these things that are in the smoke in the structure fire that are getting on our gear. So that PFAS level was higher on the bunker gear because of external exposure factors that we're going into. It's not necessarily just from the factory, because if it was just from the factory and that was the only exposure, it would slowly be degraded over time as you washed it more and more, and as it just aged, it would start slowly flaking off. So that's another thing I like to provide clarity on with guys is, hey, it's not just coming from the bunker gear company; it's coming from the modern environment.
Yeah.
Um, so
Overuse and just over time in the wear. Yeah.
yeah, and with that, the last thing on that part of the study was they did see that the PFAS was able to off gas at 100-degree temperature, and that was made to mimic the highest skin temperature that would reflect in a firefighter. So if a firefighter was on the job sweating really hard, their skin temperature would be elevated trying to cool off. That was meant to mimic that.
Hmm.
They saw that the PFAS was potentially off gassing to the point to where it could be breathable, which shouldn't be a huge deal because you should be on air at that point, for the most part. And then the second point was that it could be in this state, it could be dermally absorbable. They don't have the answer to how much is toxic and how much is being absorbed. That wasn't capable of being conducted during that study. So that's where they need more research to be done. So I hope that that was kind of a long winding circle to kind of explain some of the dermal absorption stuff that we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I really got a lot of it, and the fact that you touch also on the fact that operators, engineers, need to be cautious as well
Yeah.
of wearing protection to make sure they're not getting exposed to those environments. Um, Man, I'd say there's been play fires I've pumped out, I've been at the engine, and yeah, I never even thought about it when
I
I'm
know.
what I'm breathing in and what I'm absorbing, because usually pump operators aren't wearing full gear because they're pumping, they're doing other things, so they don't need to be inside the building, and they're not wearing their complete gear, so but they're still being saturated with something, and they're still
Yeah.
taking that into their lungs and on their skin. So that's a good point to be made. Of
So yeah, so some of the inhalation hazard. I've got my presentation. I do like a 2-hour presentation, so I like making sure that I give actual factual stuff.
Mhm.
I know some of the stuff off the top of my head. Some of it I want to make sure I'm quoting properly. But some of the inhalation hazards on the fire ground are zero point 0.1 to 10 microns in size. That means dust is 25 microns in size. So a lot of this stuff is just not visible to the naked eye. So we, as a pump operator, when we're on the panel, we feel like we're fine.
Yeah.
You don't have that ability to see the smoke, but there's still contamination that's floating around there. So that's another thing that I think might be a low hanging fruit for a lot of departments, is using some kind of hazmat monitor to actually set up real hot, warm, and cold zones for
Hmm.
guys, because we have those zones, but are we actually taking objective measurements to show where that actually is? Like, this is our cold zone, but is it actually cold over here? So I
Mhm.
think that that's another low hanging fruit for inhalation hazards reduction for guys, is doing something along those lines, whether it's the battalion or the guy running the scene, or if it's a pump operator that's nearby. I don't know, whatever any department wants to do with it, but I think that it could be a useful tool to use.
Man, I love that, man. It's really it's great information. Obviously, you've done your homework. The fact that you have a 2 hour
Yeah.
presentation, is you're not bullshitting anybody with that. You've done your homework. You've got the science. You've got the data, and the fact that it's all leading down to one thing is trying to protect our own
Yeah.
and making sure that we stay fit and healthy. And I do love all this information. That's what I'm looking at my screen. I'm looking at everything that you talk about, and it's good stuff, and it's out there. It's if anyone's ever curious, I'm sure they can reach out to you about how you get your information and where to find it.
Yeah.
And I
I've
mean,
got a ton of citations.
I mean, dude, you've done the work. I can see it all here in the notes, and it's impressive to see what you've done and how far you've come along to make things better for all of us.
Thank you,
Um,
man.
what is the best way to get a hold of you if anyone's ever curious about the product or even just the information you relay to for this podcast?
I think they need to call you directly, and then you can forward them my information. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh
We
shit.
no, we have I have social media like everybody. I'm pretty active on there. The Carna Bunker Gear has a social media that we try and put good stuff up there too, educational wise. Put videos on, so we're accessible there. Our email is carnabunkergear@gmail.com. We have a website. So the website is very easy. It's carnabunkergear.com. What's going on right now is we have our old URL on Google and we're trying to get that taken down. The website is not active,
Okay.
but if you just Google it, that's going to be the first thing that pops up. I need people to go to the business profile. The business profile is right on the right hand side there. That has the active link that'll take it to us. But anyways, those are the best ways to reach me for sure. All of those are excellent modalities. And then I have a YouTube channel for the company as well.
Oh, good.
Carna Bunker Gear on there, and we have a couple short videos, and then I have some longer educational stuff like the presentations. So if you do want to listen to the hour and a half, 2 hour presentation, it's on there. Um, I know that it's probably
I'll include some of those in my
mind numbing.
those links, and when I post this, I'll put those links in there too. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get good about posting links, so I'll make sure I put that in there. Now,
Thank you.
I never asked the name Carna. Where did that come
Oh
from?
yeah. So we obviously had a brainstorm between me and the two other owners, my buddies. Zach came up with it. He came up with the logo. So it's a Roman goddess. So Karna is the Roman goddess of health and vitality, and specifically of the inner organs. So when he found that, I was like, oh, done, done. So we rolled with it, and I think it's very fitting for our mission statement and what we want to do.
Did he
So.
just know that off the top of his head?
No, no.
Okay.
We were going through stuff for like a week.
All right.
And he just stumbled upon that, and as soon as he hit that, we were like, done, sold.
What a great name. Okay. I always wondered, and I would have kicked myself if I didn't ask. So
Yeah.
and that's an awesome name, man. I like that very much.
Cool. Yeah, it's got a good meaning behind it. So
Cool. Now, since you do presentations, is there anywhere you're going to be? Anyone to look out for? If you're going to be lecturing anywhere or any trainings or conferences?
Yeah, I don't have anything on the agenda. I think potentially I might be doing a more of a high performance type thing for the Florida Health and Safety conference in Orlando. I think we'll see. But I started working on that, so that's going to be more of like what we discussed with like the workout stuff.
Yeah.
How you can train guys on shift and what firefighters should be doing, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no. Aside from that, I basically just go whoever calls departments that want more of the basically the presentation. You know, it is if the department tells you to do something and you just hear from your guys all the time, you're like, yeah, whatever. But when you get somebody from the outside coming in, sometimes they buy into it a little bit more.
Sure.
So I'm more than happy to do that and travel for departments and stuff and get the information and education out there to help the guys. So
that's awesome. Man, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I thank you so much for being on the C.A.N report. The information that you have that you're able to obtain is insane. It's a lot of information, and I hope I can retain some of that. But I got your notes in here, so I'm going to start looking up some of these things that we talked about. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to everything because
we did a good job.
Those are big topics too. Like there's a lot of stuff. So I really appreciate it, man. You're doing great stuff. You're doing great work. I love that you developed a product to help others, and it's that's the biggest thing. That's what I try to drive home, and everybody else is. I love when I see people trying to do better for all of us. And that's exactly what you're doing. And I use the product firsthand. I really do like the Carna Bunker Gear. I think it works really well. It feels heavy. You're sweating it. You're not cheating yourself by wearing it. You are doing the work when you're putting in that gear and actually getting your workout in. So if anybody's ever curious about it, please reach out to Carna Bunker Gear. Reach out to Ryan. He won't steer you wrong. It really does work. It gets a good sweat. So if you're afraid, keep using the word Fred. If you're cautious of using if you're cautious of using your own bunker gear because of PFAS, because of carcinogens, the punker, I'm having a stroke now. The Carna Bunker Gear is definitely beneficial. And I say this, I don't get any kickbacks, guys. I don't get any money from any of this.
You might.
This is just because I love the products and I love the people that invent this and that are backing the product because they care about us. And this is a guy who's in the trenches with us, who's putting on the gear. His brothers and sisters are putting on the gear, and we need to make sure we can keep us fit. And Ryan, I really appreciate you for doing this, and I appreciate your business partners as well. It's been awesome talking with you. I hope we get to do it again. I love the videos. I've been watching them. I'm always following you guys, the Instagrams and YouTube. Like, it's some cool stuff. I love seeing guys working out in the gear and doing some really good training. Like, I love watching the RIT training in the Carna gear. It's really cool to see. So
yeah, we're trying to get more of the cool stuff because it's definitely it does well on social media, and I think it's a niche that I want guys to understand that we're trying to do is like get in your gear and actually train, like do fireground stuff. So
yeah, it's just not working out too. I know I talked a lot about that, but you're absolutely 100% correct. This isn't just to work out in. This is to do some training. Obviously, you're not going to go in a live burn. More likely, you're not going to be doing extrication in it either. I imagine
it's hot. You could. I mean, this is my stance on it. It's not PPE, but I would feel comfortable wearing it for that because most of the time guys are wearing lightweight dual certified stuff anyway. So that's thinner than ours. But anyways, yeah, my stance is it's not PPE, but I would personally wear it.
Sure. I love that you said that. Cool. Because, but
it's going to be hot though. It will be hot. I will say that. Yeah, you're not going to enjoy it.
It's great stuff, Ryan. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the C.A.N Report. Ryan Conley, Carna Bunker Gear. Make sure you check him out. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. He's got what you're looking for. Reach out to him, and he'll give you all the information you're looking for alternatives to working out in your gear. Thank you all for tuning in. I always like to close it as well. Mental health is a real thing. We've lost a lot of people because of mental health. If you're struggling, if you need someone to talk to, I like to always mention my guys, Next Rung. They are doing fantastic things to help a lot of people out. If you need someone to talk to and you're not sure where to go, reach out to Next Rung. They're on Instagram. They're on social media. If you're not sure how to get a hold of somebody, you can reach out to me. I'll direct you right to them. Or if you just want to talk to me, I'll be happy to try to do my best to just point in the right direction. Or if you just need to vent, hell, I'll listen to you. I love to listen to people. That's what I do. So thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Be well. Love you. Mazel tov.